We're so blessed to have Kelly and Harvey with us, along with our audience. Chat's open. We depend and rely on it to give us direction, make us as relevant as we possibly can, and really give you some tangible, valuable takeaways that you can apply. It's the word of the day we mentioned is teamwork, LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower. So before all of our wonderful guests start commenting, and there's always a lag on the entry, and then there's a lag on the exit of comments. So you may not see your comments as quickly, and you may not see them at all at the end. So the best time is comment in the middle. So with that said, Kelly, bring us all up to date. What's your initial thoughts on teamwork? And so happy to have you.
Yes, so happy to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you all are tuning in from. I am actually tuning in from Florida this week. I am down visiting Christy. Speaking of teamwork, uh, teamwork makes the dream work. I think that's what we all think when we see that word to start with. And of course, with the three of us, it made me excited because I was like, oh, dream team. But I think it's going to be like everything else. It can mean so many things, right? Particularly starting in the business world, of course, teamwork. I think about a team that you build to achieve a goal. Um, and I think it's so important, and I'm sticking in a business realm right at the moment, is creating a team that is strong at what they do and you not being the one telling them what to do. I mean, I think somewhere along the way, we've all worked for that micromanager that you just sort of think like, good Lord, what'd you hire me for if you're just going to sit here and tell me what to do step by step by step, and not allow any of my input. But I think creating a good team is about allowing people to shine in their abilities and their strengths, and recognizing those as a leader, and pushing those for people to grow, and you achieve beyond, I think, every time the goal that you ever originally had. You usually bypass it by so much, or it turns into something so much bigger and better. And the other side of it at a team, when you succeed at something or you've reached that goal, the celebration together, it's beautiful. I mean, it goes to what we are here. This is a team. It's a community. Um, I don't know. So those are my initial thoughts of
Okay,
a
I
great
think
feel of teamwork.
they're just wonderful. I mean, I think you really started off the show really well because, context is everything. And, hopefully everybody's thinking about the word. We'd love to hear what you're feeling and what your
Yeah.
definition of teamwork is, because we can all learn together. With that, Harvey, I know, you're a great team player and you love teams. So
Yes.
why don't
Absolutely.
you catch everybody up to date and your initial thoughts on
Yes.
team?
Your first franchise show. Yay. Yay.
Absolutely. First of all, forgive me if my voice goes today, but I have a very sore throat today. So listening will be perhaps one of my strengths today, but I will do my best. Yes, I did do my own show with a wonderful Don supporting me. So
Love it.
thank you for that. I mean, teamwork is just a fantastic word, especially with everybody here, because we're one big team. Everybody supports one another, and everybody helps one another, and it resonates with me. I think everything I do is because of somebody else. I often say that I like to be a reflector, because there's so much talent and so many good people around me. All I really need to do is reflect that. And so I think if we're all reflectors, then we're all going to be one great big team. There's already some great comments coming in, and it feels like the people making the comments are just as or a bigger part of our team than the three of us on the screen. We're one big team, and that's what I love about this show and this community. So they're my initial thoughts.
Well, those are great thoughts, and it makes it so much easier for me to follow that up because, I always try to go to the base or the lowest common denominator with a word. And I look at teamwork as being two words combined, right? So you've got the team part of it, but then you got to go to work with the team and you got to work to make the team go to work, right? So it's kind of like, a ratcheting up opportunity. And I think Kelly makes a great point. Winning alone is never as much fun as winning as a group, right? Because the energy, and I think that's what we're talking about here is the energy. The words are important. The intentions help that in context. But what's the energy and what does it allow you to do after you gain that energy? How do you redirect that energy? And as a team, you're always building each other up if it's a good team. And you're also sharing, hey, I just saw when you kicked that ball, you weren't doing this 100%. And somebody would see things that you would never notice until they pointed out. And the key to quality teamwork is openness, honesty, and more importantly than anything, trust in communication. And I think once you find a team, and some people have never had that team, some people had to make small teams within the team to survive in the team, or they had to then go the other way, which is political, bureaucratic. Who do I get to golf with this week? Who do I got to smile with when I know I shouldn't be? But whatever the case, that's why when you find one, don't leave it, build it, help other people be successful in it so they'll stay in it. You want sustainability with a team. It's nice to have a team for a while and then know it's going to break up is a little harsher than knowing, hey, this could be lifelong. So with that, we got so many comments. I got to go right to them.
Yes.
Leslie is here in the house. I see Leslie everywhere. I saw she was with Trevor, or she's going to be with Trevor on Think and Grow Rich. She's only here till 11:25. So Leslie, you got twice as much to do in half the time. So, 11:25. Catherine, new person, haven't seen you, but I'm so happy you're here. I did see a comment earlier, I think related to Elizabeth, who will be here tomorrow, which I'm really excited by. Dwight Thompson, happy Thursday. I love the 3-panel presentation. It's like a fun board interview filled with good vibe. Yeah, 3 is always different, not always better. But when you have that harmony, like the 3 of us have, everybody has more time to think of better things to say, right? When you're one person, you're just saying, you're not thinking, going because you're it. When you're 2, it's ping pong and you never know when you're going to get the ball or how the audience is. But 3 plus 3 faces are more variety, personas. I think it just works. We've got a gentleman in Pompano Beach. Great to see you. I spent a lot of time. I remember they had a harness track there. No man is an island. No man stands alone, for sure. Why would you?
Love that.
And that's saying it from an extrovert and somebody who loves talking and being around people. So yeah, I could say it. Joyful day, my friends. Thank you, Varshith. Leslie comes back with 3 hats. Hey, I didn't notice, but you're right on it, Leslie. Thank you. Hi, all. Go team. Great. Thank you, Ashif. You're a part of the team. Here till, okay, we mentioned that. Leslie comes back with when 2 or more people work together, they create a third or exponential minds, mastermind. So true. And that's what this is in a more informal but committed way. Teams are only as strong as the weakest individual, links in a chain and all that. For sure. Varshith, to grow means we should be the smile of our friend, to be friendly with everyone. Well, that's teamwork, that's your own team. You got your team and you go out there and say, I'm going to smile. Let's go team. It's always between you and yourself. You got to get your mindset. Hey, come on, we're going to do something. Let's get upbeat here. I know it's not easy, but that's the whole point. Elizabeth's here and we'll be here tomorrow. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Hey.
So nice to see you. Another new face. Great to see you.
Nice. Welcome.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is an international show because it's timeless in the words we're talking about and the meanings, don't change with the trends. However, you have greatness within you to see it in others. That's so nice of you, Leslie.
Yes, I love it.
That's what saves a lot of people. Their
Yeah.
their values and what they bring, and that distinguishes and differentiates themselves. Just like Dennis is the rhymer, Carrie's the joker. It just you get your persona. I'm a hat guy. Was the hat theme plan? No. And that's the beauty of teamwork is you shouldn't have to plan everything. You should depend on spontaneity, being responsive. We can always be happy, but we are just joyful by spreading joyfulness. Well, if you can get joy and happiness, it's like bread and butter. Time will change when we have time for happiness. So true.
Love that.
How fast can you get happy? Here we go. Thanks for all you for showing up, not off. Teamwork still works for sure, and your group really works well. Well, Dennis is a very experienced, successful business person, and someone who takes this time and contributes every day, that makes you very distinctive in a positive way. And, everybody sees this who you don't see, and you don't know what they're going to do with it or how they're going to spread it. And now they've just given you more value than you could have ever done on your own. And I think that's what a team is for, is put you in a position to win because of efforts, sacrifices they're willing to make for you. And based on that, you want to return the favor, and that's how it only gets better. Elizabeth says, alone we could do so little, together we can do so much. Absolutely. Here we go with Linda. Linda's a great lady. The team we have here to encourage, share, and show real teamwork. Well, you're right. Everybody who brings something to the team, not only to an individual. Agree, be trusty, but not rusty. Thanks for keeping us.
I like that one. I like that one, Dennis. I'm going to write that one down. Be trusty, not rusty.
I love it.
I enjoy.
That needs to be on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Team is about making everyone better, right?
Yes.
And we tie it up with Leslie. An orchestra, marching band includes many and shows up as one. Wow, that's a mouthful. All these comments coming in so quickly. Kelly?
Love it. And yes, so great. And I love that one, Leslie. I mean, Leslie has so many good ones. And speaking of teamwork, because Leslie starts it all off every week with her list of lives and and audios every week for everyone to watch. So she's on Team Everyone supporting, which is just so great. And you're right, she is everywhere. I did get to pop in for a while on one of her audios yesterday, which was great. And I'm sorry I couldn't say the whole time. And that's the one thing I don't like about the audios. Total digression. I know, I apologize. Is you can't comment and say, sorry, I got to run early, just because all of a sudden they just see your picture disappear. So Leslie, I had another call I had to get on, but I stayed as long as I could. In any event, this teamwork, is so great because when you were both talking, some of the things I was thinking about and reading a lot of the comments was, teamwork shouldn't be a competition. It's not about who's better than who, and especially as a leader of a team. I think that's such a special place. And I always felt that it's a privilege. It's not something that I deserve to be running everyone and telling them what to do, because I don't view it that way. I view it as you're just kind of the point person to make sure that things continue to move forward, and that anyone who's reaching a stumbling block or is having a struggle, that you're helping them along, and recognizing when someone in a certain project on an occasion, the weakest link will stand out. What are you going to do to help the weakest link feel part of the team and feel protected and grow? And interestingly enough, which is so strange, but my brain, sometimes I have no idea why certain things pop in, but it made me think of, because I live in Arizona. I'm just visiting Florida for those of you who are new here. And in Arizona, we have these critters called javelina. They are hideous, ugly looking hog-like porcupines had a baby. And they're big, but they travel in packs. And I will never forget this. And I saw a pack of them one time. And you never want to see them in person. Like, they're dangerous little suckers. And there was one in the center, and the pack was all surrounding it. And the one in the middle, they had obviously had some kind of run-in with other wildlife. And the one in the center was injured. And so they were all around it, protecting it as they continued to move their pack wherever they were going. But it just struck me in this whole thing about teamwork and talking about the weakest link, or because we've all been there too. Maybe something in our personal life is now overflowing into our work, and man, we're just not at our best. And we need our team or our community, however you, to surround us and embrace us and not be like, man, Harvey, you suck that you're not gonna be able to talk so much today because you have a sore throat. The initial thought is, well, and I was laughing as I was typing it, Harvey. I was like, I'm pretty sure Don and I can fill in the quietness. Just a thing. You know what I mean? But your thought for someone is always like, what can I do to help them? Not like, oh, great, now I have more weight to carry. Although we've probably all experienced those team members who are the ones that are like, what can I do the least and get away with? But in any event, those were sort of my thoughts on this round as far as teamwork, embracing one another, helping one another, and supporting each other, because it's a relationship of how it works. And I don't know, teamwork and watching a team function to me is fascinating, because I just love how it's a living, breathing organism of its own, right? It's not just the individuals, it's the sum of the parts. And I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. So Harvey, do you have some few thoughts that you would like to share?
I do. I could listen to you too. I was enjoying listening. I've always enjoyed listening to your thoughts, and that's exactly the same there. And I had to Google the animals that you were talking about.
They're hideous looking.
Yeah, that's why I went like that.
Yes,
like a spiky pig.
Yes, it's like a porcupine and a pig had a baby.
I'd never heard of it, but anyway, so every day is a school day, isn't it? But yes, as I say, so many of the things you say resonate, and I could just sit back here and listen to you talking, and that would be lovely. But I think I like the fact that we were talking about winning as a group and celebrating as a group. It's a lonely thing if you just try and achieve things on your own. And if you achieve things together and you celebrate together, because if you've achieved something and there's no one to celebrate with, that's a real shame. That's a lonely existence, however successful you are. So winning as a group, I think, is such an important thing, and celebrating as a group, and supporting when things, your story about the spiky pigs, and I'm going to call them spiky pigs now.
Yes, but and Leslie did ask, she was like, can you name it again? It's a javelina. It's Javelina, I believe.
Yeah, look, I Googled one.
Oh, yeah, they're so gross.
But yes, I think your story about them, because now who said earlier on about your team is only as good as the weakest link? Because it interests me to talk about that. I don't know whether I necessarily agree with it, but it's a really interesting comment to make, and a really valuable comment to make. Because, in that story you told there, Kelly, about the injured animal, the team it wasn't about them being as weak as the injured animal. It was about them coming together to protect and being strong around it. But it was still a really, really, really thought-provoking comment. And that's what I love about this, because, to say these comments inspires a different thought process, and it lets you think about something in a way that perhaps you wouldn't. And I think that comment, along with your story, was really valid. But I think it's a mindset as well. Even in your own life, you have a number of positive things and a number of negative things. It's almost sort of like a a teamwork of a collection of emotions. If you take your emotions of being as being a team,
Yes.
you kind of want the positive emotions to protect and look after some of those negative feelings. I remember once actually being in a job interview, and I'd only remembered this when we begun this conversation, but I was asked what my biggest success amongst a team. And it was a while back, and I stumbled in the job interview. I have to admit, because I think I guess I was nervous in the job interview, but it was a great question, and it made me realize at the time what a good company they were, because that's what they were thinking about. They were thinking about how you work as a team. And I think up till that point, I had perhaps had relatively isolated job roles, that were quite lonely in a way. But it was a really interesting learning. And I've always been somebody who wants to look after other people, always. But I think sometimes you get insular or isolated in a job or in various aspects of your life, and you have to readdress it. So yeah, I think really interesting and really important points there. I also liked what Leslie said about an orchestra that go up for one there. Yeah, that an orchestra or marching band includes many, shows up as one. I love that because I often think of this show as an orchestra. And we're all playing different instruments, and it just has it works together. When we're all together, everybody here, it works. The rhythm and the feel of the show works, and it feels like art or music and so forth. So I think it's a beautiful team. But yes, they're my thoughts. I'm going to let Don get to some comments there.
Yeah. Well, sure. And then, I think as we get deeper and richer in this conversation, I think inclusive versus exclusive is valuable to building strong teams, right? I've been to some like minor league games, and after the game, all the players are signing an autograph for the kids. They're socializing. They're bringing the fans into the game and the game into the fans. And so many people are selective based on superficial or prejudicial or discriminatory thoughts versus like we do here is bring the audience in as an equal and maybe as a superior, right? Because we're servants relative to how well we can deliver value. It's not about us. Us is really about what we do for others and then what we get in return. But it's the doing, it's the team making, it's the person who, like I say, being inclusive. Hey, I'd love to have you on the team. Everybody in the audience, I reach out and eventually have a phone call with because I want to thank them, but also want to learn from them. What is it? What isn't it? What could we do? And using the we instead of me in most of those statements. And it's so cool when you're maybe a marginal person in your own mind and someone invites you to the boardroom or to a lunch or a meeting and you wonder why me. I didn't think they thought that much about me, but that's the key opportunity is to reward those people. Every day at work, I would go to lunch and I would take 2-3 people with me. Right. And I'd circulate. So whoever you were, you went to lunch on a regular basis. And we could talk about payables or receivables or warehouse work or retail stuff, whatever it was. If you were good enough to work here, good enough to get paid here, the last piece is the recognition here. Right. And people withhold that because they I never had parking spaces. If you got there early, you got the best space, right? That's just the way it should be. But people have to think of others as they would like to be thought of. And I know everybody's had experiences in organizations where they felt honored and they've been in organizations where they felt diminished, and it was
Yes.
overt. It wasn't just, I had to really spend a lot of time figuring this one out. And I think that's a disservice to the company, to customers, and to ownership when they pay for a full loaf and they only access a half or allow half a loaf to be accessed. When I talk to people, I found skill sets and ideas and thoughts that had nothing to do with their position.
Yeah.
Right? I had warehouse guys who were smarter than the distribution guys because they did the work. You know, they took care of stuff. They were taken for granted, and they weren't very visible. And I think to shine a brighter light, and I think that's what we think about here, because teams are longer term. And I think one other thought that came to my mind is, you know, I'm naturally old school because I'm old, or older.
You're in the prime of your life, Dom. Prime of your life.
That's right.
Well,
That's
as
right.
you're as relevant as what you last said and thought. So nobody's got it made. But I remember it, and it wasn't just a memory I like, but back in earlier days of growing up, what we have here is what society and what I grew up in. People respected each other, complimented each other, dressed up for nice occasions, brought little gifts. Someone moved into the neighborhood, everybody would bake a little something. You know, it was just people would say that's just a thing to do. That's just the right thing. When someone comes in your house, you should do this. When you go to someone's house, this is how you should appear. And that's what this atmosphere is developed into. Is everybody's very warm, gracious, complimentary, welcoming, you know, and I think that's rare. But it says it's not lost. It's just
Thank
not
God.
practiced in a way. And maybe you take a person from that era who knew what it was and how it was, and you reintroduce it, just like music comes back or fashion keeps coming back. So with that, let's go right to Leslie, because I know it's getting up on her time, or maybe
Yeah,
it's
she just said.
I think it is her time.
It's okay.
Yeah. Theo,
Thank you,
thanks for
Leslie.
coming.
Linda says, as a team used to be just local, like a school or a small business, but having no lines here, touching all here is just a blessing. And now finding that in business, now global and having no blurred lines, able to reach out and start new and connecting. Whatever you decide to say next, believe next, and do next is your next, right? You don't have to connect to the past. You don't have to do anything that you have already done. You're really supposed to be doing what you want to do at this point, what you love doing. And now you have no excuse because you have so many friends around you, so many conversations you have yet to make. I've been inviting 10 people a day to calls. I'm probably getting 5 or 6 every day, just based on people I'm looking for who I haven't been talking to. You know, that's another thing about a team, an orchestra. Some people are so heavy on defense and they have no offense. Because their focus is they got a defensive manager, right? Or an offensive manager. Yeah. And the key is you want to keep bringing new types, new interests, new thoughts. And that's what makes it interesting. You know, just like HBO, if they didn't give you new shows every month and new everything else, you'd go to Netflix or somewhere else. So you got to compete with yourself to keep adding more value. And that's where you can forget about competition. Because all that matters at the end of the day is the value you brought to the table, not how you postured, positioned, you know. And there's a lot of fake it till you make it, but most of that fake it is never going to make it. It already is dead at the gate. Leslie, say then, okay, we covered that. Ashif is leadership is not about being the best. Leadership is about making everyone else feel better. So
yes.
You know, J. Paul Getty, who was the richest man in the world at one point, said he'd rather 1% of 100 people's effort than 100% of his effort, right? And everybody who turned great couldn't have been great. Edison, Henry Ford. How do you build factories with thousands of people if you don't know leadership or teamwork or how to take care of people? Actually, Henry Ford was the first one who came up with an extraordinary wage at the time, which was $5 a day. And what happened, everybody migrated to Detroit. to get a $5 a day job. And Henry Ford's thought was, why would I build a product that nobody could afford? Right? And it takes $5 a day to buy my car. So in a sense, he was altruistic, but he was very practical, in order to do that. And I think that's where people need to realize it has to, I think Harvey on his franchise show was saying that a franchisor and a franchisee has to win together to stay together.
Yeah.
Right? If a franchisor just says, I'm going to take as much as I can, and that person doesn't make it or doesn't feel like there's incentive, it's gone. If the franchisee says, I'm not going to pay my royalties, or I'm going to do some side stuff, and that's where people, in essence, get to be dependent on each other because they know it's the only way to survive. That's why if you're moving in a pack, you're much safer than by yourself, because just the look of 5 people together is more, intimidating than one person mildly being by themselves. My children learn teamwork and discipline by being part of the marching band in high school, obviously. And that's probably where the marching band came from, what we bring to others. You're so true. And why not? People aren't conscious because you know what? A lot of people can get away with less. And that's the thing. Why would I pay my fair share when I'm cut in line? Why would I do this when I can? And no one will know, no one will care, and nothing will happen. And I think at that point, your moral compass is challenged, right? Because if everything you do is based on getting caught and punished versus doing something really valuable and rewarded, what road would you rather be on? And some people don't know there's that other road. A lot of people grew up in families and environments where that was what they talked about, how they were mean or took advantage and whatever. So agree, celebrate together is better than to debate together, and you'll most likely be together longer and stronger. Someone's got to go first and someone's got to go second, right? For things to go. Why not let the person go first and you'll learn more? And why not be the first to invite that person to go first and include them? Right? If you were out there collecting gold coins off this road, you'd just be picking up every one you could and throwing them in a basket. Right? And everybody around you is a gold coin. Hopefully everybody's mother of that person loves them and thinks the best of them. Find out what it is that makes their parents so proud or not. Agree. Okay. Leslie comes back before she's gone. No, they're not that cute, Leslie.
They're in person. They're definitely not cute, and they get big and they're scary.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
You don't want them. You want them to move to another area where there's no people. Sheaf comes back where there's no such thing as strong army of one. So true. I know it so well. Victoria, there's no I in team. So true. Ambambola's in the house. Great to see you.
Yes.
Teamwork is working together in unity for the greater good of all members. Glad to be home today. Always welcome. Just like family. The good old days when we're great and grateful. Yeah. I'm glad we had a chance, Dennis. My hands were always on. Great. And finishing up with tough times don't last. Tough teams do. For sure. Kelly, we got so much behind this teamwork.
So much. Yes.
Makes everybody feel more teamy.
Yes, I love it. Because to me, it all. Say again?
I like the word teamy.
Yeah. Yes, me too. That's great. Teamy. Teamy today. A couple of things I wanted to say is when Harvey, when you were talking about you're only as strong as your weakest link, where I can say that I've seen this in business, and I kind of alluded to it when I was talking a little bit earlier, is one of the things when you have that person on a team who does the bare minimum to get by, and everybody else is pushing the envelope, and you've got that one team member, and what that does emotionally to the team, and this is where I say it's fascinating me, the psychology of a team, is how that impacts the others, because the others then will start thinking, well, why am I trying so hard? Because this person is getting away with it, and it impacts the whole productivity in a negative manner. if it's a noted thing. And there's also it from an aspect of, or where I've seen it with owners hiring people, and granted, I'm almost embarrassed to say that this is still going on like so loudly in today's world, because it is. Not too long ago, I was working with an organization, and their turnover was obscene. And I was like, but they didn't talk about it. They never told me about it. They made it sound, of course, like their culture was super rad. And I went in and I was like, God, the vibe in the building, because I'm one of those people, when I walk in, the employee that's like looking down and away as I'm walking down the hall, that's the one I'm going to make sure that every day I'm like, good morning. Because I will turn that person into being like saying good morning to me and looking up and participating in the business. And you spend most of your time there, or people used to. I know they're mostly at home now, but the point in this was, this owner would literally just grow wild hair and decide he didn't like somebody that was hired and fire them. And I was like, you are never going to build a team to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, because you're not allowing it to take place. You're starting over constantly with all this turnover. And not to mention financially, that is the dumbest thing you could ever do, is to have such a high turnover for the sake of onboarding and all that other good stuff. But it's like, you're not investing in the team to succeed. You are simply looking at things in a box. You're not looking beyond it. You're thinking, oh, this person isn't producing the way I want to after a week or two. So you get rid of them. Is maybe there a problem with the training and the onboarding, or something internally that these people keep getting let go? So I do think that there's a couple of different ways to look at, you're only the strongest is the weakest link. And in this last scenario that I was using, the weakest link was actually the founder, the owner. He was his own worst enemy. And then the other thing I wanted to go back on that you said at the very beginning, Harvey, that I absolutely loved, was that you're a reflector. And it's so interesting, because growing up, my parents always told me, like, if you want to know where you are in life, take a look at the people closest to you that are surrounding you, the 5 people in your life, if you will. And that's a reflection of you and where you are. And, of course, when I first heard it, I was probably like, what? I probably didn't get it. But certainly as an adult, and I've gotten older, now with my dearest friends that I look at, the people that are closest to me, I'm like, man, I am so blessed. I don't know what I did to deserve these incredible people in my life, but it makes me feel incredible and so blessed. And in a business place, there have been times, and this is a hard thing to find, especially, and I've worked a major portion of my career in corporate America and with startups that were very much had a corporate vibe. I really like the more startup scrappy thing, but in any event, is being able to work with people that you feel are reflective of you. I did work in capital markets for a very long time in private equity. And I was feeling very disenchanted because I was meeting people and working alongside people that morally and ethically did not align with me in any way. And it left me feeling like, God, I just don't like these people. They're just not good humans, in my opinion. And I think that's important in work too. We get to a place where, when we're younger and you have to put in the time because you don't have the experience, sometimes you have to put up with some BS and that later in life that you're like, oh, hell no, I am so not dealing with this. But you do want to surround yourself with people that are reflective of who you are, and say, I want to work with people that do morally and ethically align with me. They don't have to agree with everything that I do. I'm not looking for me in multiple ways, because yuck. But you still want to have texture and have people who have different opinions, insights, experience, all of those things, because that expands our own mind and growth. Like, that's what we all love about this community or team, because everybody's got a different perspective and it opens our minds. I love even, Harvey's like, I had not heard of the, you're only as strong as your weakest, or I've not seen that, or people not knowing about a javelina, and now you do. A team helps you grow and learn and want to be the best version of yourself. And in order to be the best version of yourself, you've got to surround yourself with the best people that push you and want you to achieve. That's another big component, I think, of a team, is the people who want you to shine. Like, hey, you can't outshine me. You continue to go. I want you to shine literally so bright that you blind me. It's not going to impact me in any way. That makes me feel great. And I don't know. Like I said, I think earlier I don't think there should be any competition in team. It should all be, you're just trying to do for the greater good. And I know someone made that comment along the way too. So those are my thoughts right now, Hart.
I thought that was amazing. I can
Me
listen
too.
for a long time. And I think that resonated with something that Elizabeth said. And she said there, it would be wonderful to hear a story where someone felt there was a lack of teamwork. And I thought that was a good point to raise. And I think a lot of what you were saying there, Kelly, about surrounding yourself with people that want you to shine and want you to do well is absolutely what you should do. And I think when you put out good things, you're generally surrounded, lots of different characters, lots of different perspectives, but you're still generally surrounded. What you were told when you were little about those people that are around you. I think that probably you create the right people around you by being that person. But yes, I think I probably can share a story. I think, I've been involved in sales all my life. And when I was very young, my first job, we had a target to get to every month, and I hadn't made mine that particular month. And my friend who had was quite gloaty about it, boastful, and I was really worried about my job and things like that. And it didn't feel like a team. It felt insular. It made me to kind of, I guess, more sort of focus on protect myself a little bit at that time. I was in my 20s. I think I would have handled it differently now. But I do remember as well, not that same company, but the next company I worked for, I was in a similar situation where I had done particularly well in a month and a colleague of mine hadn't. And I remember thinking at that time, thinking back to when it was the other way around. Well, I sat down with that person at that time and I don't know whether it helped, but I at least tried. I sat down with them to sort of say, well, look, what are you doing? What can I help you with? I couldn't give them my sales at the time, but I wanted to help them. And I think probably because that happened, that's why I wanted, to make sure that person felt like they were looked after and part of a team. So I guess, I have to thank that person who gloated at that time, because, it helps make you stronger and hopefully makes you want to support people around you even more, even if something perhaps a little negative happens. So I think every story has a couple of sides, and you can look at it in a different way, and there's always a positive learning from it. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we're really, really getting into what teams can be, and what I appreciate, and it's kind of equal, is a team can be equated to a family.
Mm-hmm.
And a family is a team in itself, right? Because if you're part of a group, it's like we're all going on vacation. We're all going out to dinner tonight. We're all going to do this. We're all going to go trick or treating. And when we're all part of something, you don't feel so isolated. You don't feel so alone. If someone honks the horn and said, hey, we're all going out to eat, come on with us, right? You're excited that someone took the time or the interest to invite you. And that's why including people on a team. And when they're on the team, doing more just like we do with new people here to make them more comfortable. You know, the veterans, if you look at some of the greatest hockey teams, they've got like 6 or 7 guys who and gals, if that's the league they're in, who have been around 15, 20 years, the veterans. And then you got the rookies, right? And the veterans are working with all the rookies to get them as much knowledge, as much confidence, as much experience, because they have that to give and they don't have that to need. And I think that's the beauty of a team, is you're given an excess of something you're strong at to someone who isn't that strong, and collectively you bring everybody up, because you know it's hard to win if people aren't working together, right? Most teams, it's like, hey, you missed this, you missed a block, you missed a pass, you missed something that you didn't have to, right? And I think that's so important. And what I realized when I retired from my business, I didn't leave a business. I left a family I was there 37 years with, that I was spending,
Yes.
5 days a week, 8, 9 hours a day with people. Unlike some people, they never left. I had people, I remember they started when they got out of high school and they were 53
Awesome.
when I left the business. Why? Because they knew, and most of these people were never alone. They always knew at 4 a.m, if I get in trouble, I can call someone up and I'll get out of trouble. I don't have to have every dime in the bank. I can't tell you how many funerals I sponsored. It's like, hey, you got to get back to Omaha. You got to get a plane ticket. We'll take care of it later, right? And I always got taken care of. But the feeling that something was so important, people would come to me and I'm only $1,000 short for my down payment on a house, right? And it's the house of our dreams. And, when you trust somebody with a lot of resources, a lot of capital, a lot of equipment, right, that could be worth millions of dollars, and someone says, I've got a personal issue for $1,000, how much value do you value their $1,000 need when you're putting them in charge of maybe your $1 million need?
Yeah.
And I think people don't understand that, that they only think they know. And the thing is, if you're going to lose by making somebody else better, happier. If I spent $1,000 and never got it back, but someone was able to fulfill an obligation or a dream, how many other sponsorships are you going to find in your life that you really made the difference? So I think those are things you got to factor in. Agree, it is good to look forward and outside the box. For sure, Minerva, who's just a great gal, here always in thought, disruption and stability is ruining the qualities of many good people hired. Assessing too soon or incomplete provisions to reap good work. Well, a lot of people, they hire them and now go get them Tiger. You that brought them in, you got a responsibility, because I would always say, if you hired this person and it didn't work out, what role did you have in it? They were good enough to get hired. Obviously, that you didn't spend the time. And I was always bottom up. Always saying the customer's king here. That's who writes all our paychecks. And the next one is who's serving who. Right? You're in a management position because supposedly you know more than they do or can do more than they do. But I see a lot of managers, and I got tired of that, who weren't working managers.
Yes.
Right? They were supervising managers. You ever been to the stores? No. I'm looking at reports. You ever done this? No. Well, what do you think those people are thinking, that you're giving them direction? You never show up to visit them, to go through the store with them, to tell them what our plans are?
Yeah.
And every restructuring, that would be the layer I got rid of. What do you do here? Well, I make sure everybody else does their stuff. Well, I can do that. Who needs you? So anyways, it's practical. And I think that lends itself to the word, did you ever see when teams didn't work well? And it's when the people involved in the team weren't working well. The team is a culmination of all the players, right? Alignment, resonate with your values. Dennis is agree you have to put up to be smart and keep learning and earning. and go first. It gets it over and it gets it moving either way. Oh yes, best version and looking forward. Stars don't touch, but they work together to brighten the nights. That's so true. Just as we are
I
all
love
about
that.
that here, and I think that's beautiful, Linda, because you're able not to only say something, but say something that can be visualized when it's heard,
Mhm.
right? So it's like a double feature. Is you got the message, but then you got the vision to go with it.
Mhm.
A sheep is retention, holds the highest compounded value. Ambimbola, that founder you talked about, Kelly, was exactly like a boss of mine in 2017. He was
Oh,
blessed with many good teachers, but never built a great team with his attitude. And I don't understand why you would poison the well
oh,
by doing everything but being a little bit more positive towards people. It costs you nothing, and it does so much good. Having the right people around you is better than the wrong people, and correct. And over
mm.
time will promote or expose you either way.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not getting away with nothing. It is wonderful when couples can also be a team. Oh, for sure.
Yes.
I wouldn't honestly, without Ann, I'd never be what I am, because
Mhm.
it's that person who says whatever it is, you're cool. Whatever it is, it'll be fine. It's that reassurance, that you're doing the right thing. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Or I know it's not easy, but it's only temporary. I mean, just it's like
Mhm.
having a team in a boxing ring. You get to the ring, you're all bloodied and beat up, and that team works for a minute to throw water at you, rub you down, get you back in the game, and throw you back in. And that's what it takes to maybe go one more round. And I think it's that one more round that wins the day. The greatest hockey team still love to puck around. People first, Linda. I mean, that's so fun to be here. They say there's only three things you can accomplish on a live stream, and it's either entertainment, education, or inspiration, or a combination of all three. And having comedy, having sayings, having quotes, goes beyond just I say something, you hear something, we get together. It's meaningful. And there's so little meaning in some people's lives and in the world itself.
Mhm.
And when you can grab hold of something that's meaningful and valuable, you want to ride it. Elizabeth can share, worked for a glass company and connected building was a stained glass business. I love Boss and his family at a glass company, but bought by stained glass. And instead of getting to help him as he saw our clients,
I think this was a long one. This was a big
Yeah.
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to get to that. But thank you for all the thought. Family and
We'll
families
have a look at that one later.
will have the
Yeah.
same beginnings. Kelly, wow,
I
what did we
mean,
find here today?
yes, so great. And the family and the couples and the relationship, and maybe we touched on that earlier, or maybe I just thought of it, because of course that's teamwork, right? I mean, family, and when that was said about family, I immediately thought to when I was a kid, because my all my friends got allowance. Me and my brother didn't. And I was like, how come I don't get allowance? Because we had chores, you had things to do. And I was told, but that's your part to make this household operate. That's part of our teamwork. That's what a family does to work together. So, which I'm so grateful for those lessons that my parents taught me about things. And we would sit every week. One of my fondest memories, and my brother's as well. This is one of our shared memory that we love together. Is on Fridays we would get a blanket, put it out on the family room floor, and my dad made homemade pizza that were amazing. And salad, and we would have a picnic in the family room, and we would kind of catch up on the week and then watch whatever our the Friday night show was. um but those are things, that's what a team does. You're making sure, and we always, dinner time was always together, but that was just a different, until we got older, and then of course it was turned to the once a week, and then good luck. um but those are the special moments because they took the time to be sure that we were all connecting as a family. And just a little change of environment, even though it wasn't in the kitchen, it was on the family room floor. And this is how this does the same exact thing in a business environment. When you change, when you leave the office, and I know I've said this on other shows, I used to take my team down. We would go for a walk and go sit outside at this coffee place that we had in the lower level of our building, or go to the park. A change in environment allows creativity to flow. It totally changes a conversation. And it really starts to exemplify the whole safety, security in the community and a team where you feel safe, supported. You are going to do more things. You just because you feel safe, and you're going to take a risk because you're like, oh man, I'm totally going to jump out of this plane now because I've got my team around me. And it makes you do things that you normally wouldn't do or maybe not think of. So I think it applies the same. And one other interesting thing before I turn it up, because I can't believe it's already going on the hour. It's so crazy. Is I did work for someone, and when I used to do a lot of interviewing, and I love interviewing people just because I love people and they're how people respond, and I'm totally into body language and all that. But someone that I was working with that was hiring, one of his things was he wanted people that were on a sports team. And I was like, why? I was much younger then and still learning. And he said, because it shows they know how to work on a team. And that's what I thought when, Harvey, you were asked in that interview about, tell me about a success of your team. It's showing if you think from a team perspective. And I just kind of thought, oh, that's interesting. I would never have thought of that. And that was part of growing up. Like, we had to be involved in sports of some sort. Like, you didn't have to become a professional, obviously, but it was like you needed to be involved in some co-curricular activity and go outside. We were not allowed to stay inside. It was go outside until the streetlights come on, and you are active in doing things. But interesting way to hire people to think, if they were involved in a sporting team, that they would have another thing, another intangible, I guess, if you will, that they could bring to your team because they already know how to work with the team. So I thought that was interesting. Great conversation today. Totally loved it. And I can't believe it's already been an hour. So Harvey, see, look, we filled in so much time so you didn't have to talk too much.
Thank you. I mean, it's amazing, and thanks for sharing that about your family. It's a beautiful story, and I think teams are like families. And I was desperately trying to find a thing that my son bought us a few years ago, and I found a picture of it. It was a wall art, and I might have read it before, but it's worth reading again. And it's family is not always blood. It's the people in your life who want you in theirs, the ones who accept you for who you are, the ones who would do anything to see you smile, the ones who love you no matter what. And it was a lovely thing to buy us, because we have a big family, lots of different people in it, and it was a lovely thing to bring team family together. Now, just in case you thought I'd forgotten, which would be a disaster.
No, we couldn't go without a prop.
We know you wouldn't, Harvey.
It's late. I like to spring it at different points, but here it is today, and I had to put them on here, and they don't even really fit. Now these are bats.
That's fantastic.
Because my wife loves bats. And now they're the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. But I don't see them like that. Okay. So what I'm thinking of them like at the moment is one of them can't see, one of them can't hear, and one of them can't speak. But together they can do all three. So there you go. Think of these lovely little bats.
You're bomb. I love it. Mic drop.
It kind of reminds me of my mother when she was down in Florida. She had a little place in Palm Beach, and we had a girlfriend, and she used to call her Deaf Dorothy because she couldn't hear very well, and my mother couldn't see very well. So once a week they go to the dog track, and between the two of them, they put $10 in, or some have a night. So it is merging two qualities to make up one super quality.
Remember that film? What was that film? See No Evil, Hear No Evil. Do you remember that with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder?
Yeah.
That was a good film. Same sort of thing. That was a funny one.
Well, and I
That's
think that
amazing.
teams change and you have a chance to change teams. One last thing. I do believe, all my kids were in sports or activities. Most of, my daughter was there just to hang out and have some fun. And that's all I wanted her to do. So
Yeah.
there was never pressure to perform. But, once people get around teams, they know what it is to be around teams. And I think that's what the teaching is, not what the team did, what the team was. No
Yes.
one cares about how many games you won when you're 8 years old, but it's like you got friendships and experiences. They're going out to ice cream afterwards, stuff like that. So there's so much joy beyond the action itself. And it's nice to be with, I think, more people because it's so much easier to learn. And and there is something to exercising those empathetic, compassionate muscles. Right? When someone goes down, and what's even more impressive is when an opposing teammate goes and helps an opposing teammate who got hurt.
Yes, I love that.
Right? How many times do you see someone stumble in a race and had an issue and someone stopped their race to help them? Or actually, you see those videos that are heartwarming where they actually put the person's arm around their neck.
Yes.
Both walk across the finish line together. And that's a true champion because that'll last forever, way beyond the race is forgotten. So it is 1:00. I want to thank everybody. Well, let's just finish with the last comments. Dennis says couples that are happily coupled are still happily together. And everybody has an opportunity. Yes, that long one means she is still working her glass off. I don't know. I agree. Leaving the office together is on us and off us. Elizabeth, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Love stories with positive results. Thank you all. Dennis says, be active outside the box. Elizabeth, love these shared moments. So many more to come. Linda, agree, Harvey, and heard it before, and so love our team family growing here. It's nice because it's a competitive advantage in your personal, professional, life that you have somewhere every day, what is going to be expected of and be provided for. And I think those are things you can't copy. Those are things you have to earn. You have to bid for, and that's why I never worry about competition, because if competition wants to compete, do everything that's being done and do it a little bit better. And I'll take my hat off to you and I'll chase you down to get number one again as soon as I can. Everybody wins together. Everybody can inspire each other. Everybody can show each other what they're capable of. That is just a belief system that now can be more effective. Yes, Don, and those people in team or group in school or not can lead to a lifelong related friendship. And that is a life blessing. And we are all so blessed. I know I am for having all you in my life and in this hour. So with that said, go out, make it even a better day. And we'll talk in 23 hours if we can. And we'll look forward to Elizabeth. Bye for now.